We're going to have a look at a Welsh politician today from the party of Plaid Cymru, and she was speaking in the synod. Now, apologies to everyone from Wales if I'm butchering those pronunciations. I am from the north of England and trying my best, but there you go. So this lady here is a politician, and she's talking about expanding the rights of asylum seekers. And so I thought this was a very, very interesting take and an insight into the minds and lives of these elitist liberal maniacs that are inhabiting the corridors of power in the United Kingdom. And so we'll play this clip and then we'll have a chat about it afterwards.
Last evening, MPs debated the UK Tories' illegal migration bill, and illegal it certainly is, because it's a bill which has been deemed by dozens of human rights organisations and legal experts as incompatible with the international human rights treaties of which the UK is a signatory, including the European Convention on Human Rights, the 1951 Refugee Convention and the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Minister, there can be no doubt that this deplorable bill undermines Wales' aim to be a nation of sanctuary and our desire to expand the rights of refugees and asylum seekers to access services, not limit them. These are people, not a problem, as the leader of the Welsh Conservatives despicably stated on social media yesterday, not creating mayhem in his shameful words, but our brothers and sisters seeking our support. If we had the powers, we could ensure this bill would not apply in Wales. As that is unfortunately not the case, Plaid Cymru MPs yesterday laid an amendment to require the UK and Welsh governments to jointly produce guidance, setting out how measures under this Act could be exercised in a way which is consistent with the Welsh Government's commitment of being a nation of sanctuary, and no guidance being allowed to be published unless it has been approved by this Senedd. It was disappointing no Labour Welsh MPs were among those who signed the amendment.
So there you have it. You have a Welsh parliamentarian lecturing the country on racism and how you should be feeling about watching the demographic change in your country change irrevocably for all time going into the future and erasing all culture and heritage that's been built up over centuries, all the while being berated for not thinking in the correct way. And so on the screen here, these are the lists of what people like this lady are proposing. And so I'm not going to cover all of the things on this list because it's too long really, but just to pick out a couple of the highlights, going from the top here, make sure refugees can find new accommodation when they leave asylum accommodation. Yeah, right, okay. Good quality accommodation to be paid for by all UK taxpayers. Excellent. And support refugees to access employment or to set up their own business. Now, it's at this stage whether you might be confused into thinking, well, perhaps what we need to do, we need to gather up all of the rose petals that we can find in the United Kingdom and put them into large lorries and send them to this lady. And then perhaps what she can do, she can prostrate herself on the ground in front of all these asylum seekers and she can scatter rose petals in front of them, perhaps while cherubs inject floral scents into the air at the same time, because we wouldn't want these people to feel anywhere out of place. And of course, what we need to do, we need to be escorting all of these people into huge detached houses of multiple occupancy. All the while, perhaps we should set up a business for these people and hand them the keys to that and everything else. You immediately see the problem here, of course. People coming to the United Kingdom who want to live here have to make their own life. It's really that simple. It's not up to the people of Wales, the people of the United Kingdom in general, to provide anything for asylum seekers. If they wish to come to our country and claim asylum, that's one thing and that's an argument for another day. However, why should the UK taxpayer and the people from Wales pay to accommodate people free at the taxpayer's expense and, as this lady wants to suggest here, help refugees access employment which I might add, over and above the people who are already in Wales, and to set up their own businesses at the taxpayer's expense. It's quite unbelievable when you stand back and have a look at it. If you go through this list, you'll further see there's references to children, and I don't really believe that that's a fair thing to put in there, particularly because a huge proportion of asylum seekers that arrive into the United Kingdom, most of the time illegally, on small boats and however else they arrive, a huge proportion of those people are fighting age men. And so there isn't that many children on there. The fighting age men do sometimes pretend to be children, of course, but that's a different story entirely. I quite like looking down this list here, number 10. So we are meant to provide psychiatric care, psychological care for people who've been seeking sanctuary, to help them with their mental health because they've been seeking sanctuary. I think this is a very, very strange thing to put on there. So extra support, extra healthcare, extra homes, businesses provided, translators provided, priority healthcare provided. Do I need to go on any more? Now, a couple of things on what that lady said. She said expanding the rights of asylum seekers. And so, how does that really work out? How do you expand the rights of somebody? So, let's say somebody comes to the United Kingdom and they become part of our society. Okay, so they're part of our society now and they're a productive member of our society now. Excellent. How do we expand their rights? What she's really saying is we need to go over and above what we're providing to the people, the native people, indigenous people of these islands. We need to start prioritising the need of those people. And this is wrong, because obviously what this is going to do, this is going to breed resentment. And quite rightly, it breeds resentment. Everyone should be equal in the eyes of the government and the law. This is quite straightforward. And when politicians like this lady propose that we give extra care and consideration, they really show the mindset and the woke liberal disease with which they've been infected. And they put that on full show for everyone. Now, one very, very strange aspect to all of this is what this lady refers to as a nation of sanctuary. What does that even mean? And why would anybody want to be a nation of sanctuary? What you're actually saying is, as a country, we're quite happy to take in people from all over the world, no matter what. When was this ever voted for? What does this sanctuary mean? I first heard this phrase in the States, from reports from America, sanctuary cities and all that. And it was a thing a little while ago. It seems to be drifting out of fashion now. But this lady seems to have picked the ball up and started running with that phrase. I think this is a worrying phrase. You haven't heard this in Ireland or in the UK generally either. So this is something that's specific to Wales. I wonder why the Welsh Liberals are attempting to start labelling it as a sanctuary nation. What a strange turn of phrase that is. I don't really need to remind people in my audience, most of you anyway, that when this lady is talking, she's talking with a sneer and a contemptible look at other people. She mentioned the Conservatives over there and how disgusting they are. And this is the contempt with which the liberal elite class treat normal working men and women of this country. And as much as this annoys me, it is part of our parliaments. This is the infection that we are suffering. And I had this same feeling actually when I was watching a lady talk from Sinn Féin. I was watching her talk and she was talking like this other lady, and I thought, why are you saying these things? Very few people in your country agrees with what you're saying. It's a strange time we find ourselves in when these people are just out of the blue start lecturing us on racism and trying to put the needs of people from foreign countries above the needs of people who are already living here. It's such a strange phenomenon, and I don't know where it comes from, especially given the fact that most people disagree with these people. And if you can help me out on that, I'd be really appreciative. I have to say, there is no explanation that I can come up with that seems rational to me. Perhaps what's happened one day, they get invited to one of these evening cocktail parties that no doubt these politicians frequent. As they're chowing down on their expensive vol au vents and triangulated sandwiches and they're sipping from champagne flutes, perhaps what happens is that there's the liberal disease has been passed as the person perhaps is pouring from the champagne bottle, they touch the champagne flute as they pass it across to the next person, and on the glass it's already been contaminated with the liberal disease. And so from there it just kind of gets passed around, and before everybody knows it, everybody's talking about racism and everybody's been infected. Now, I'm trying to be as jovial as I can here because that woman really, really does annoy me. But in all honesty, I have no explanation for why these people start talking like that, specifically against the interests of their own people. And in addition to that, they must be looking to get elected again. And if that's the case, why is anybody voting for these morons who are, in essence, trying to destroy the culture and the heritage that we've built up in these lands over a millennia or two? I mean, just think on that. It's truly incredible when you stand back and look at it in those terms. Anyway, thanks very much for your time. I do appreciate it.